Hello, welcome to Friday practice. We're not going to actually do Guanyin practice today. Today it's a little bit of a fun thing that we're doing. I can see that one of my things is not right. Hang on one quick sec. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we're going to do divination this morning, and then we're going to read aloud. I'm going to read aloud these two books today, and you can read along or listen along, save it and share it with kids that you know. We're going to read Children of the Forest and Imogene's Antlers. But first, we'll do our daily divination. When the dear mother ascends the mountain, victorious in her splendor, she brings with her the elixir of the forest. With precious incense, fragrant and sweetly scented, the mountain is purified, the forest is purified, the waters are purified, the animals are purified, the deities are purified, the spirits are purified, the ancestors are purified, our lineage is purified, our homes are purified, our families are purified, our children are purified, our friends are purified, my life force is purified, your life force is purified, obstacles removed, wounds are healed, good words are spoken. All around us is purified, is purified, is purified. Let's see what our message will be today from the Field Guide deck. Yesterday, we were in the orb of red jasper, setting and finding our boundaries, finding their harder and their softer, stretchier edges. Coming to terms with the fact that we can't always have it exactly the way we want it, but that we can still exercise clarity. And today, we're with the bear. What a beautiful image of a bear with the sun either rising or setting behind her, standing in a pool of water, claws are out. Let's hear about the meaning of bear in this oracle deck. Gather parts that have been annexed or snapped off. Shore up flagging spirits and trust there are many lovely paths through the deep wildness of life. Impress yourself with your resourcefulness, preservation, and happy solitude. Share the blackberries, knowing you'll always have one secret place to find more. Our words are harmony, introspection, self-reliance, acceptance, enjoyment, indulgence, sweetness, and cooperation. So today, I love this. It might be a good time for a little hibernation if you can. I know it's a busy time. There are many people preparing for the end of year, either with work or with family or, for whatever reason. But today, let's try and focus on a little bit of quiet space and quiet time and a little bit of extra indulgence in sharing our resources. Maybe today would be a good day to sort of stay home and tend to your year-end giving that you plan to do for charity. Today is also a really good day of accepting all parts of yourself. One of my early witchcraft teachers, Z Budapest, referred to a concept she called sloth woman, that each of us has within us, that desire to just sometimes let it all go, let ourselves go, stay in our nightgown all day, not pay attention to the world around us, not do anything for anyone else, and just go totally sloth. And that if we don't occasionally indulge that, it will take over. And then we'll find ourselves feeling unable to accomplish the tasks that we want to do in a timelier fashion. So let's go ahead today, indulge the inner sloth woman, indulge a little bit of nightgown time. It's Friday. I'm even doing it because we're not doing Guanyin. So let's move into Children of the Forest and find out about this wonderful story. So Children of the Forest is by Elsa Beskov. Deep in the forest, under the curling roots of an old pine tree, was a small house. Warm and dry in winter, cool and airy in summer, it was the home of one of the forest people. He lived there with his wife and 4 children, Tom, Harriet, Sam, and Daisy. And you see, here he is and his wife, and there are the 4 little mushroom hat children. So cute. Wild strawberries and mushrooms grew by their door, and they had all the pots, pans, chairs, beds, tables, knives, forks, and spoons that they could possibly need. Sheltered under the pine tree branches, they hardly felt the autumn gales, and if it rained, the children crept underneath a giant toadstool to keep dry. All the children wore red and white spotted caps. If strangers came into the forest, they curled up, still as stone, for all the world like 4 little red and white spotted mushrooms. But most of the time, they were perfectly safe. Then they played at hide and seek with the squirrels who lived upstairs in the tree. Squirrels are scatty, thoughtless creatures, and sometimes they forgot what game they were playing, and then the children could catch them. Mostly, though, they were kind-hearted, and often they remembered to bring Harriet a nut or 2 from their store. You can see there's the little squirrel. The 4 little children are in the tree. Not everyone in the woods was friendly. Vara the viper once lay in wait for the children as they played under the pine tree. Their father saw him hiding in the ferns and ran out in his thick pine cone suit with his birch bark shield to fight the snake. Tom, Harriet, Sam, and Daisy watched, and as the battle went first this way and then that, at last their father was so quick with his needle-sharp spear that he pinned the viper to the ground. The 4 children picked up the dead snake. "Where shall we bury him?" they asked. And here they are carrying the snake. Here we go. And here they are, watching their father in his pine cone outfit fighting the snake. I love the mushroom hats. Says Paris. Paris, I love the mushroom hats too, Paris. Just as the children were wondering what to do, an old hedgehog came shuffling up. I'll take that snake away, he offered with a sly grin, and he scuttled off, dragging it so fast that the children forgot to ask him where he was going to bury it. Then Tom and Sam cut hawthorn spears of their own and poked them into the ants' nests, but the ants swarmed out to defend their home and stung the boys until they cried. Silly boys, said their mother as she put dock leaf ointment on their stings. Never hurt the creatures of the forest unless they first mean you harm. Here's Mr. Hedgehog coming to get the snake. I know, they've killed the snake. But here they are learning the valuable lesson about not hurting creatures of the forest unless they're threatened. And I think that's actually a good lesson for witchcraft as well. You know, don't go looking for trouble, but if trouble comes to you, defend yourself against it and don't be afraid. In the middle of the forest is a cave where a troll lives. No one knows his name. One day, when the children were out berrying, Tom saw that the biggest blueberries grew the closest to the troll's cave. I'm going up there, he said bravely. And so am I, said Sam and Harriet and Daisy. Ho, 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 said a huge voice far above them. Berries and baskets tumbled everywhere as the children scrambled down the slope. They didn't even look back to see who it was. If they had, they would have seen that the old troll of the forest was just laughing and laughing. It was not often that he had a chance to scare someone off. Here they are running with their baskets, running down the hill, and here's the troll laughing. In this forest, this troll seems to be a bit more benevolent than most trolls. A lot of trolls wouldn't try to scare them first, they'd just go for them and eat them. Soon, the children were amidst harvest time and everyone had to do their share. The little brown cupboards in the roots of the pine had to be filled with bottles of berry jam, dried seeds, nuts, and fruit to last through the winter. The children's father showed them how to recognize the little pearly white button mushrooms, which would make delicious pies and puddings when the snow was thick on the ground. Sam did not want to listen, and he sat, playing with an apple pip, but his father got angry. Sam, if you make a mistake, we might all die. You must never pick a mushroom unless you know it is good to eat. So true. When the whole family is involved in providing in the provisions for winter, we all really need to know what we're doing. So whether you're big or small, you've got to pay attention. Not everything in nature is friendly. Everyone's hands were finally sticky with berry juice, and the house was full of the smell of newly picked mushrooms. The harvest was over, but there was still a lot to do. The fruit had to be cleaned and polished. One rotten berry could spoil the whole store. Every ripe brown nut was stored neatly away, and each mushroom was carefully sliced and threaded so that it could be hung up to dry. The children picked cotton grass and combed it smooth so their mother could spin it into silky thread. Then she would weave it into rugs or knit pretty, creamy white sweaters for the winter. Can you imagine being a little fairy child and wearing something so soft that it was made from the down that comes off the grasses and flowers? How absolutely delightful. And threading the mushrooms and hanging them is something people still do. Albert's got a mushroom drying in our kitchen, I don't know for how long. We'll see what happens this winter. The days grew shorter and then the moon shone bright and cold as a silver coin. cutting little gray shadows in the pine branches and telling all the forest creatures that summer really was at an end. Mist settled in the hollows like white breath, and the children played at leapfrog with the rabbits until it was time for bed. Sometimes they found forest fairies dancing and singing in the moonlight, and they joined in their games. Come back tomorrow night, the children would beg. Perhaps, laughed the fairies as they slipped away, light as thistledown. There was no telling where or when they would return. Yeah, fairies are really great in the moment, but really you kind of can't expect long-term promises. And here are the children in their little mushroom hats, and the fairies have made some kind of a seat out of a long branch. Mary Beth says, this is bringing back so many wonderful memories of reading this book to my now grown 8 children. Love it. Thank you, Mary Beth, to be part of that memory for you. Today, we are going to see Mrs. Owl, said the children's mother one morning. It's time for you 3, Tom, Harriet, and Sam, to go to school. Mrs. Owl knows more about our plants, trees, and flowers than anyone, and she will teach you all the ways of the forest. Tom, Harriet, and Sam looked up at the huge, dark eyes of the old owl, and they felt shy. For once, they did not say a word. And the owl looks at them with grave look. There were many other animals in school besides Mrs. Owl's own 3 children, and some of them the children knew already. There were the 2 cheeky hedgehogs, 2 small frogs who had only just stopped being tadpoles, some of the older squirrels, 5 rather silly rabbits, and lots of small birds, chaffinches, tits and jays, and even a young woodpecker. Mrs. Owl taught them the language of all that squeaks, swims, flies, or runs. She taught them to listen to the message of the wind and to see the approach of spring even before the first snowdrop. She taught them to keep well hidden from humans and to be wary of all hunting animals, the fox, the stoat, and the dog. And here's Mrs. Owl with her owlets. And all the other animals are gathered around, and here are the children. Then came the first winter weather. The wind shrieked through the pines, scattering dead leaves and twigs and sending little animals tumbling to their warm homes. The children's father put up heavy wooden doors to make their home weather tight as the first white snowflakes began to settle. Shivering, the children put on thick sweaters and caps and stepped out into the bitter cold. Even the hare had put on his winter coat. If only we could sleep right through until spring like dormice, grumbled Sam as he helped his mother gather the firewood. This is me yesterday, by the way. I was stacking the wood pile and gathering the firewood from various different places. Thank you, Paris, for the firewood you dropped off. And we were bundling it yesterday. I was out there in my sweater doing this like these children. Next morning, the sky was a clear, bright blue, and the snowy branches glittered in the sun. Shouting with excitement, the children ran outside, stamping in and out of snowdrifts and rolling in the snow until they looked like huge snowballs. The hare was as happy as the children, and he raced up, looking for a new game to play. Tom and Sam harnessed him to the sledge, and away they went like the wind. Look how cute. The rabbit is pulling them on their sled. Could you just... So cute. Reminds me of that scene in The Lord of the Rings with Radagast and his mighty hares. Radagast is actually kind of modeled after a forest deity, Rod. Harriet, Daisy, called their father. We must make up a basket of food from our cupboards. It's been so cold that some of our friends might not have enough to eat. That evening, sleepy and warm after delivering the baskets, the children sat around the fire, listening to their father telling stories his father told him when he was a boy about trolls and fairies, about storms and strange cities from long ago. And here we have the children distributing their bounty to the rabbits and the other animals. And we have them all sitting around the fire getting cozy. Oh my goodness, it looks like we're coming to the end, friends. Last page. No, second to last page. Winter days, dark and snowy, went by one after another until at last came the first warm breeze. Spring was in the air. Anemones and snowdrops raised their cool white heads, and branches became thick and knobby with new buds. Birds began singing, and melting ice splashed into every stream. Everything was rustling and restless, and the children raced about, almost mad with excitement. They paddled and splashed in the stream, damming it to build a water mill. No one cared how wet or muddy they were, for no child of the forest can ever catch cold. You know, this is true of humans. If you become like the kind of person who goes and gets into cold water of the lake or the river, even in the midst of winter, you will eventually become hardy enough that you won't need a coat or even a bathing suit. You can just slip naked into any pool of living water, even in the dead of winter. Don't believe me? Come visit me. I'll take you. We'll go. We'll go swimming in the river in the middle of winter. No problem. Everyone in the forest was busy in the bright sunshine. Birds began gathering twigs and moss, and soon from every nest and burrow came the cry of newborn creatures. Tom, Harriet, Sam, and Daisy were amazed to find that they had a new round baby brother of their own, too. A new year was beginning in the forest, and this is where we must leave the children. But if you like, think about them and their forest friends, and that way their story will never end. Children of the Forest by Elsa Beskow. And we have time for one more. It's a short one, but such a sweet one. Imogene's Antlers by David Small. On Thursday, when Imogene woke up, she found she had grown antlers. This literally is my dream come true. Why does this happen to her and not me? Why? Look how cute her antlers are. I am so ready for these antlers. Can somebody please place the Amazon order so that I'll wake up with antlers? I want my antlers prime. Imogene started down the stairs for breakfast. Here she is sliding down the banister. Her cat and dog look surprised, but she got hung up on the chandelier. Oh, Imogene's mother said and fainted away. Everybody's getting ready for breakfast, and here she is, swinging in the breeze by her antlers. How cute is this? I'm so ready for this story to come true in my own life. If I wake up and there are antlers tomorrow, I'm going to know it's because you all rang bells and wished for me. The doctor poked and prodded and scratched his chin. He couldn't find anything wrong. The school principal glared at Imogene, but had no advice to offer. Typical. Doctor, not sure what to do with the female body. Principal, uncertain because she no longer conforms. I think we've heard this story before. Her brother Norman consulted the encyclopedia and then announced that Imogene had turned into a rare form of miniature elk. Imogene's mother fainted again and was carried upstairs to bed. I like this brother. You are now a rare elk. I'm serious. Where do I get my rare elk membership card? Imogene went into the kitchen. Lucy, the maid, had her sit by the oven to dry some towels. Lovely antlers, said Lucy. The cook, Mrs. Perkins, gave Imogene a donut and then decked her out with several more and sent her into the garden to feed the birds. Look how cute. She's hung all the washing on her antlers to dry. So cute. And then she's got donuts around the antlers so that she can go outside to feed the birds. Ingenious. See, antlers are so useful. Anyone would be lucky to wake up with antlers. Anyone, especially me. You'll be lots of fun to decorate come Christmas, said Mrs. Perkins. And Imogene is sitting here happily nomming on her own donut while all the birds are coming and eating the donuts around her. We only get donuts one day a week here in Dunsmuir on Mondays. It's donut day at the Wheelhouse. Otherwise, we would not have donuts. So reading about donuts on Friday is good for me because then I can think about them all weekend. Later, Imogene wandered upstairs. She found the whole family in Mother's bedroom. Donuts, anyone? She offered. Her mother said, Imogene, we have decided that there is only one thing to do. We must hide your antlers under a hat. With that, Norman telephoned the milliner. Ring the milliner. We need antler hat. Paris says, I see your antlers. Thank you, Paris. I actually have a little antler hat. I should have worn it today. Maybe I'll wear it on Christmas when I do my other story. Christmas Eve. At 3:00, the milliner arrived. Oh, he's quite grand. He's got a cape, a checked suit, a pompadour on his head. Rapidly, he sketched a few designs and then set to work. And look, here he is. Comes in and everyone's like, ooh, so fancy. And then he's there sketching, and now he's elaborately draping her antlers with fabric. Amazing. Voila, said the milliner. Bravo, bravissimo, cried his assistants. Thud! Imogene's mother fainted and had to be carried away once more. And will you look at this confection on her head? It's some kind of crazy tuffet. Definitely not an improvement on the antlers, I must say. I like the flowers. They could have just festooned the antlers with flowers. After dinner, Imogene practiced her piano lesson. And this kind of has a little bit of a Santa Lucia vibe because look, she's got all these candles perched in her antlers. And she's playing piano. It's quite majestic, really. Then, yawning, she folded up her music. Here's her helpful brother Norman gathering up the candles and blowing them out. She kissed her family. Her mother's weeping on the couch. Her grandfather seems unperturbed with his pipe. And she went to bed. Imogene sighed, remembering her long, eventful day. Here she is in her bed. All her little friends, her toys are gathered around her, her books, and her rack of antlers magnificently on her head. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? I feel afraid. I feel like they're going to take her antlers away. Ah, I knew it. On Friday, when Imogene woke up, the antlers had disappeared. When she came down to breakfast, the family was overjoyed to see her back to normal. Oh, now everybody's happy. Sure, she's back to conforming. How boring. But then she came into the room. And she had grown a peacock's tail. Oh, I love it. Yes. Winning. So glad she has a peacock's tail now. I must say, famous, was it Jane Harrison? I can't remember. A famous scholar wrote about stories about women that have adventuresome middles with tame beginnings and endings. That like in the beginning of a story, and this is often during the Victorian period, but really up through the 1950s in this country, we have a lot of stories where the beginning, the woman is just docilely going about her business and doing all the things that are expected of her. And then there's some like roaring middle of the story where she has an amazing lover, or she goes on a fantastic trip, or she defies convention. But then by the end of the story, in order to wrap it up and get it published for money, authors would often have to then either punish the woman by killing her or bring the wonderful flight of fancy to an end. I'm so glad that David Small did not leave us with nothing. I wish she had retained her antlers and her tail. If you could have wings, antlers, and a tail in any combination, what would they be? Like, for example, some of my ideal combinations include waking up with a rack of moose antlers, monarch butterfly wings, and a long brown horse's tail. Or a little curling pigtail, bee wings, and tiny little goat nubs. I think these things would all match really well together. What do you think? If you had wings, antlers, and a tail, drop a comment as soon as this broadcast is done and let me know what your ideal combination of wings, antlers, and a tail would look like. Okay, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day and a nice weekend. Thank you for joining me for story time today. We'll be back with regular Guanyin practice on Monday. And then on Christmas Eve, I'm going to read aloud The Witch's Christmas, the pièce de résistance in my trio of Christmas children's books. Bye. Have a good one. Ooh, a ringtail, lemur's tail, a Luna, moss wings, and reindeer antlers. Now that's what I'm talking about, Leona. Thank you. Bye, YouTube. Have a great day.